Hey, BooTube. It is, really cold. And really windy. And it's been raining. But this is my reaction rant to The Walking Dead. Oh, finally. It's finally happening, guys. The Walking Dead, Season 7, Episode 8, titled Heart Still Beating, which was the mid-season finale of pretty much 7A, which is the first half of Season 7. I am so sorry it's been taking me so long. I feel so horrible. It's like, this premiere, like, when did this premiere? Hang on. AMC. It was like December 11 or December 12 or something like that. I feel so bad. Anyway, from what I remember, this is out of pure memory, so if I forgot stuff, I'm sorry. Like I said, this is all the way in December of 2016. And it is February 2017. It's been like 2 months. So I'm, again, sorry for the long wait, especially since the second half of Season 7 is coming up really soon. And if I forgot stuff, because, again, 2-month gap. Anyway, if I remember correctly, the episode started with, like, really early in the morning, and Maggie is sitting alone by Glenn's grave, I think. And, you know, she assumes her post at the Hilltop's front gate, because apparently she's, like, guarding it, with this dude. From what I heard, his name is Eduardo. I looked up the name, at least. His name's Eduardo, and, like, they're the lookouts for the front gate. And, Gregory approaches her, and, pretty much gives her a warning, like, your popularity with the Hilltop, don't let it get to your head. You know, he's being like a jerk. He's being a douchebag, basically. He doesn't like the fact that Maggie's getting all this attention and popularity amongst the Hilltop people, because he's the one in charge of Hilltop, technically, right? So the fact that everyone's liking someone else, an outsider, really annoys him, probably, and he ends up taunting her by, like, pretty much rubbing an apple constantly on his jacket, and Eduardo's like, hey, you stop that. She's pregnant. She needs to eat. Give her the apple. Right? Basically, right? And so, like, he reluctantly tosses the apple up to Maggie, and she takes, like, a huge bite out of it, and continues her watch duty. And I was like, I'm really happy that Maggie's getting some popularity here in Hilltop. You know, they're liking her, despite the fact that, you know, they barely know her. She's pretty much still an outsider. They're liking her. She's popular there, and to the point where even Eduardo is defending her against against Gregory, which I was like, I bet you Hilltop goes against Gregory, and they're like, we don't like you, Gregory, go away, we like Maggie better, you know what I mean? But anyway, back in Alexandria, we got Negan there at Alexandria when Rick is not. Remember, Rick and Aaron went to go get supplies, because they only had 1 day left to get supplies for Negan and the Saviors, and so Negan showed up a little early to Alexandria and pretty much enjoys the life of Rick's house in Alexandria. You see him shaving in Rick's bathroom, and he even instructs Carl about shaving techniques. You see him cooking pasta in Rick's kitchen, and it's like, he's making himself a little too much at home in Alexandria, especially in Rick's house in particular. And I'm kind of scared for Carl, because remember, Negan kind of scarred Carl a little bit for life, because, remember, he's like, take off your band-aid, I want to see your eye, and he's all like, pretty much making fun of him for the eye, and you know, like, Carl, he's usually a strong kid, but he's still a kid, you know? I'm betting he's still under the age of 18, so he's still a kid, and he's still sensitive, so it's like, I bet you that what happened to his eye is, it's very traumatizing for him, which is probably why he covers it. So, I'm not surprised that he's very self-conscious when it comes to his very mangled eye. So when Negan made fun of him for it, I think he's scarred for life because of it. And, you know, when Negan's all enjoying all the good stuff in Rick's house, like shaving in the bathroom because they have running hot water, and cooking in Rick's kitchen because they have, like, produce to use to cook. Well, kind of. They have a little bit of produce. But, like, hang on for a sec, guys. Sorry about that. I thought I heard the garbage man coming around, so I didn't want that noise distracting. But anyway, Negan's pretty much enjoying all the luxuries, basically. The luxuries of Alexandria, like hot water, the food and stuff like that, whether it's fresh or not. You see him shaving in Rick's bathroom. He probably took a shower too, using all that nice water and turning on the faucet because there's water. Cooking pasta in Rick's kitchen. And out in the porch, you see Olivia. She's all like hesitant to go inside. Obviously, when you look at her, she's very hesitant to go in. And Tara comes out of nowhere and gives a canister of powdered lemonade. Which is, remember Negan wanted lemonade, right? It's like, you don't have to have fresh. I know you got like a box of lemonade in there somewhere. So Tara's the one that provides it to Olivia. And Tara even offers to go in there and give the lemonade in Olivia's place, right? But Olivia's like, no, I'll do it because I promised Rick that I would watch over Judith. And that's what I'm going to do. Even if it means I have to deal with Negan in that house. So she pretty much steals herself and enters the house. And Negan, he's all sitting at the head of the table and tells Carl to put a place setting for his dad. Because he's waiting for Rick, right? And Olivia's all pouring lemonade for Negan. And back at the Savior's compound, Daryl manages to escape his cell. Hang on for a sec, guys. Okay, sorry, I had to pause it because freaking cat right now. There's like a huge cat, I think, on top of my roof. It's really big. It's either a really fat cat, a raccoon, or something else, because that thing is way too big to be a normal cat. But anyway, back in the Savior's compound, Daryl does manage to escape his cell, and he's like wandering around trying to find a way around, right? And then we go to Rick and Aaron. Back at the Walker-filled pond, because remember, that's where they stopped off at. Rick and Aaron they find a boat that they could use, but unfortunately, they realize that the boat is literally riddled in bullet holes. So if they put it in the water will go through those bullet holes and sink, right? So they're like, okay, we're gonna use this riddled, this boat filled with bullet holes. We're gonna use it, and we're going to row as fast as we can to that canoe that's in the middle of the pond. So they're like, yeah, the boat's riddled with bullet holes. The boat is riddled with bullet holes, but if we row fast enough, we can get to that one canoe that seems to be in good condition in the middle of the pond, and we'll use that canoe to get to the rest of the pond, right? And, back in Alexandria, Negan, Carl, and Olivia are eating in silence, and of course Judith is there too, I think in a high chair. I'm not sure if she's in a high chair, but she's there. And, Negan says, he's tired of waiting for Rick, and I'm kind of scared because I feel like he's getting very antsy waiting for Rick, and because he's antsy, I feel like that he might do something to either Olivia, Carl, or even Judith. I don't know. You'll never know. It's a possibility, especially when he's getting very antsy like that. You don't want a very antsy Negan, because I think if you get an antsy Negan, you will get a very pissed off Negan. It will evolve, you know what I mean? It will go from antsy to pissy to angry to rage. You know what I mean? Anyway, you remember Spencer came back, as well as I think Eugene and Rosita came back, all from their little runs out of Alexandria. They came back home to see the Saviors, and there's a Savior rummaging through all the goods that Spencer found, because remember, he found cash boxes in a way, and remember he found that walker that was literally stuck in that tree. It looks like a little lookout thing, like a hunter's nook in a tree, and there was a walker in there. Had a bow and arrow, I want to say it was a compound bow, and had a note in his pocket, and apparently it was in Latin, and of course, I think it was in Latin, and Spencer could read it because I think he was taught Latin from his mother, and it led to cash boxes. I'm calling them cash boxes. It's like different little areas where food and supplies were all stored in by probably this person. And the Savior's all looking through these goods, right? Commends Spencer for his hard work. And this female Savior, I think her name is Laura, she goes up to Spencer, offers to show them their compound if he plays his cards right, if you know what I mean. And it's pretty funny because they're all flirting. Spencer and Laura are literally flirting with each other, which I thought was hilarious. But what I really thought was funny was the fact that she sees Eugene watching them and totally calls him out. And it's kind of like a funny playback to how Eugene was watching, Abraham and Rosita while they were doing the deed. I'm not sure where it was. I remember, Abraham, Rosita, Eugene, Tara, I think Glenn and Maggie, I'm not sure, were there, but, they were in this one building, and remember in the middle of the night, Abraham and Rosita were doing the naughty, and, Eugene was, like, watching. It was a cute little callback to that, which I thought was pretty freaking funny, I'm not gonna lie to you. And, yeah, Eugene a perv, man. That's all I gotta say. He perverted. I don't know if he's just reading people, like, reading their habits and all that stuff to try to get a read on people, or he's actually naturally perverted. I don't know. You'll never know, right? But anyway, we get to a different location, which happens to be Carol. Remember, the last time we saw her, she was in that one little cottage that was a little ways away from the kingdom where Morgan is. Remember, Morgan decided to stay in the kingdom, which is the place where King Ezekiel lives with his people. And Carol decided she didn't want to be in the kingdom, but she does end up living in a little cottage not that far away from the kingdom's pathway. And she hears something outside and sees Morgan leaving a sack of produce on her porch. And she ends up inviting Morgan inside and reveals that Ezekiel has been doing the same thing. Ezekiel's been pretty much doing what Morgan just did, leaving a buttload of produce for her. And she ends up getting another visitor, which is Richard, which is one of the kingdom's other residents, and he wants to speak to both Carol and Morgan, right? And anyway, back to Rick and Aaron. They're paddling the little bullet-filled sinking boat, and they end up getting surrounded by walkers that are in the pond. And as they reach the canoe, which is like halfway down the pond, a walker unfortunately pulls Aaron underwater, right? And Rick, he's like, oh my god, and he doesn't see any bubbles or anything. He's like, oh my god, did Aaron die? And Rick paddles all the way to the canoe. He paddles the canoe all the way to the houseboat and docks it, and he's all yelling for Aaron. And luckily, though, Aaron managed to escape the walker and escape whatever. That pond was literally filled with walkers, right? And he got pulled in underwater by a walker, and he managed to escape the walker that pulled him in and the other walkers that are in that pond, and he escaped being drowned. So Aaron's the lucky son of a gun. I've got to say, that's just, wow. It's amazing how lucky Aaron is. I'm not gonna lie to you guys. But anyway, back to Daryl. Last I said, he manages to escape his cell, because remember, someone slipped a note underneath his cell door, and behind the note was a key. So, he sneaks around the hallways of the Savior compound, and he hears some Saviors approaching, and he ducks into an apartment, and we find out that the apartment that he ducked into happens to be Dwight's apartment, right? Apartment. You know, inside he sees a jar of peanut butter and stuff like that. He's all eating it, changes into Dwight's clothes, and he's like listening for the Saviors, probably to listen for them to like leave so he could like get out of Dwight's apartment. And he also notices Dwight's carved figurines on the table, because remember, Dwight actually mentioned, I'm not sure if he actually mentioned it. I have a feeling he did, but Dwight at one point, I think he mentioned that he liked carving figurines. So that was a good callback to something that we saw in the past. Also, Daryl eating a jar of peanut butter is an amazing callback. And it breaks my heart, because that callback really reminds me of a certain someone. Remember when Daryl was with Beth in that mortuary kind of house place, funeral home thing? They were eating nothing but peanut butter, like jars of peanut butter, jars of jelly, and like diet soda. And when he was eating that peanut butter, it was just a painful callback to when he was with Beth in the funeral home, because that's all they ate. Peanut butter and jelly and diet soda. So I was like, oh, you're breaking my heart with that right now. You really are. But anyway, Rick and Aaron, They're rummaging through the supplies on the houseboat, and Aaron finds a note with a drawing of a middle finger on it, literally saying, "Congrats for winning, but you will still lose." I thought that was pretty interesting. I wonder who wrote that, or if it's a savior or not, but you'll never know. Anyway, I'm running out of time, so I'll see you guys in a part 2 video.